For 11 years, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee has been amassing evidence that the prices of gold and silver are suppressed. As part of an ongoing investigation, it has now become clear that J.P. Morgan is sitting on what is estimated to be 3.3 billion ounce short position in silver in an attempt to keep the price artificially low in order to keep the relative appeal of the dollar and other fiat currencies high. Financial analyst Max Keiser is calling on people to crash J.P. Morgan by buying silver, in this way making its price go up, leaving J.P. Morgan with a huge short position to cover. To find out more about this initiative, I spoke to Max Keiser earlier, and I began by asking him why should people want to crash J.P. Morgan?
Well, I think the question is, why would somebody want to crash Al-Qaeda or crash the Taliban or crash any terrorist organization? Why are people repulsed by terrorism?
So you are comparing J.P. Morgan to a terrorist organization?
Absolutely. I've been saying this for years. They have a market fundamentalist extremist view. They believe they're doing God's work, and they're willing to kill themselves and others in the service of their warped ideology. They're financial terrorists. They do more damage than any of the other so-called terrorists like Al-Qaeda. If you would want to put a terrorist out of business, that would be the motivation. People are not happy with terrorism. They don't like the civilians getting killed. They don't like the violence, and of course they would want to get rid of them. This is the problem. This is what I've been saying about Greece and Ireland and these countries. They have a problem of financial terrorism. That's their problem.
Now, what does short position in silver mean?
Well, the currency used by the terrorists is the U.S. dollar. And the U.S. dollar has been kept artificially high by these banks keeping the price of silver and gold artificially low. In the case of J.P. Morgan, this means selling billions of ounces of silver that they don't have as a way to drive the price lower. That means that on their balance sheet, they have billions of ounces of silver that they don't own but that they've sold. So by everyone buying silver in the physical market, it forces the price up in a way that J.P. Morgan can't control, and it means that they have to take those losses on their books, and it means that the company would therefore go out of business.
Okay, now let's move on to another topic. Credit ratings agency Standard & Poor's has warned that Greece faces further downgrades following proposals for a new bailout regime in Europe. Why? Why now?
Well, it's all part of the same effort, as I've been explaining. The rating agencies and the bond dealers and the IMF and the fund managers all work together. So the rating agencies downgrade a country's debt. Then the bond assassins, as I call them, the people who sell the bonds, the sovereign bonds of Greece, again, they sell them short. And they also sell them naked short. They sell Greek bonds that don't exist. They sell counterfeit Greek bonds. This has been proven over and over again to destroy the country. And then the IMF comes in to steal the assets. The IMF wants to steal the assets of Greece. They want to steal the assets of Ireland. They want to steal the assets of Portugal. And we've seen this happen in South America and Central America for decades, and we've seen it happen in Eastern Europe. But nobody in the Western Europe would ever imagine that the terrorism of the IMF and the banks would come to their countries, but now it's come to them, and it'll come to the United States as well.
Now, speaking of the IMF, the head of the IMF, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, is coming to Athens tomorrow. What can be expected by his visit?
Well, he should be arrested. He should be arrested and put in jail. He's a terrorist. The IMF is bankrupt. The IMF is basically, a third of it is American banks, and every single American bank is insolvent. So the IMF has no money to bail out anybody. The IMF is bankrupt. They need the assets of Greece and the assets of Ireland to pay Strauss-Kahn's bonuses and his salary. They are the bankrupt ones, not Greece, not Ireland. They're the ones who are coming in, and they're the ones who are stealing Greek assets. It's very similar to in the corporate world when you have a leveraged buyout. If one company takes over another company using debt, but they use the assets of the company that they're taking over as collateral for the debt. So they'll say, Company A will say, I need $1 billion to buy Company B, and I'm pledging the assets of Company B for my loan to buy Company B. That's a leveraged buyout. They use the assets of the company they're buying to raise the money to buy the company. Similarly, the IMF is raising debt, and they're pledging Greece's assets as the collateral for the debt that they will use to take over Greece. But the IMF has no money. They're bankrupt. They should be arrested. He's a fraud. He's a charlatan. The man is a menace. He should not be allowed in the country. Would you invite Osama bin Laden into your country to have a talk with your leadership about taking over Greece? No. Well, so why would you invite Strauss-Kahn? They're financed by the same people. They're the same. They're cut from the same cloth. Their purposes are the same. They have the same ideology. There's no difference, except maybe the Strauss-Kahn is a lot worse. It's a lot worse. He's killed more people.
Now, we see the domino effect that you have said would begin after Greece. Where and when will this stop?
Well, the domino effect began with Iceland. As we predicted, I made the film in Iceland, and I said this country is going to collapse in a year. The krona will collapse in a year, and exactly what happened. Then it went to Greece, then it went to Ireland. Now they've got Portugal. You see that the rating agencies have downgraded Portugal today. Why? It's the same technique. They downgrade the debt, the bond assassins sell the bond short, and then the IMF starts talking austerity, and then this creates panic, which creates more downgrades, more bond sales, and more austerity. So the cycle continues. Apparently, the top hedge fund communities in the world have targeted the entire Eurozone and the euro. They're trying to crash the euro as they did back in 93 when they crashed the British pound. So they're targeting the entire Eurozone now. The entire Eurozone is now in the crosshairs of Soros and his group of hedge fund compadres, and they're colluding, of course. They're using inside information. They're colluding. They're breaking the law, and their target is to completely destroy the Eurozone.
There's been recent talk of issuing European bonds. How will this help the Eurozone? Will it protect it, and how?
It'll help bankers because it'll mean more fees. In other words, they want to take all the debt that's there, they want to roll it up into some new debt, and they'll all get a huge fee. But it won't help anybody who lives in the Eurozone. They'll be subjected to more interest rate expense. They will have lost more of their sovereignty, and they will be exposed to more austerity. It'll help no one except the bankers who will charge a fee to perform this exercise that does nothing but help create fees for the bankers.